Yes, sir.
Am I audible and my shared screen is also visible? Can anyone please confirm, students, that am I audible? Okay. Some Yeah. Now I guess I am able to hear. You hope you guys are able to hear me and my screen is visible to you all. Okay. Yeah. I got the confirmation. So let's go to the previously where we stopped. Let's resume from there. So we were discussing about polymorphism, compile time polymorphism, especially in that operator overloading, and this is the syntax. Uh, Operator overloading. In short, if provide operator overloading is one of the features provided by object-oriented programming languages. For example, we can make the operator plus for string class to concatenate two strings. We can do not just string concatenation, we can do any operation on objects also rather than just primitive. We know that this is in the addition operator whose task is to add two operands. So as a single operator plus, when placed between integer operands, adds them, and when placed between the string operands, strings being a object, concatenates. It's just an example. However, in the last class we were gone through, in fact, a quick example. Initially, we started with unary operator plus plus. So it's again just to refresh student class having name and department variables and an integer variable called marks. It's a constructor, normal constructor with two methods. One is print and the other one is an a special function or a special form which can give facility to provide the custom instructions to be executed in the whenever that operator encounters. So in print, here couple of printf functions, that is cout functions, to print name, department, marks of a student. Just a second. Yeah. So in operator, as we saw the syntax of operator overload. So the syntax is void because it returns nothing, and the keyword operator, which followed by the respective operator, whether it is plus, double plus, or star, hash, or any other operator, and the list of parameters. In this case, there is no parameter, doesn't expect any parameters, and return type is void. So inside that body, the marks, whatever the student, the respective object has, this is the marks the respective object has, it got incremented by 5 rather than by 1. So when we look at the main function, I have instantiated two objects, C, S and P. S being from ENC, name Gokul, P being from CSE, name Manjunath. S has marks of 88. Okay, so and P object marks, we can access this, right? This is an object and can access the attributes using a dot operator. Why we can access is because it has been mentioned under public a- access specifier. If we look back our previous one of the previous sessions has been mentioned, the all the attributes methods which are mentioned under public access specifier can access anywhere in the code. So that's why in the main function we can access using dot. So and plus plus is a Google's object. This is a unary operator. Whenever plus plus comes with a primitive data type, it just adds. If it is an object, then definitely looks for a definition with a declaration with a definition. Since this declaration during compile time, this declaration compiler will get to know there is some declaration as well as definition. So whenever this plus plus encounters with an object, the respective method which has been compiled and having a reference will be called during runtime. So plus plus s makes the s is a being an object of student named Gokul. Gokul marks will be added from 88 to plus 5 is some 93. Again, I'm trying to display it. So before incrementing, after uh, incrementing, let's display and let's see quickly like how exactly the output looks like. G++, right now we are looking into operator overloading unary operator dot slash a dot out. So Gokul is 88. Print usually prints the output statements which has been mentioned in the print method under student class. So two objects are instantiated with different values. So that's why Gokul, being from computer electronics department, having 88 marks, and Manjunath, computer science department, having 92 marks, and Gokul got incremented and displayed by 5 value. So that's how the the special function is being invoked uh, at a specific scenario, right? So this is unary. Let us see a quick one more example of binary. This binary example, before going into this detail one, we'll explain from set one. Binary, it's a simple one. I want all the students to concentrate here. So in our previous example, the operator having only one operand. This is an operand and operator is plus plus. So unary operator requires only one operand. So in this case, one operand, that is yes, only one object. When it comes to binary addition, there are two operands. So two objects will come into picture. How to handle those two objects to add something? So in that case, this is a one simple example, bit a tricky one. Definitely, it's a tricky one to understand. Once we understand, it looks very simple. So what I've done is taken a class. Okay, let me push this aside. Okay, so I have a class called complex number, real part and imaginary part, like that, just to have a real world feel. So taken a complex object, I made it a private. So these members only access through attributes can be accessed through only member functions in this via these member functions. So there are two integer, real and imaginary. Imaginary being a part of I, will try to display respectively using an I value here. Okay, so it's a constructor in public method under public keyword. Uh, I have mentioned a constructor complex with R real value as 0, I value as 0. So whenever the object is instantiated with the complex, the respect to these values will be having 0. Okay, this is, we know these things, right? So now I have defined, before coming to this part, let me explain this part also. A print, it will output the actual real and imaginary values with plus I to get that feel of real and imaginary actual representation. It just gets prints the output to standard output. So this is the method. It's a operator overloaded here. Which operator we are overloading? It's the plus. Plus operator is getting overloaded. Operator is the keyword. What is this? This can be void, but I have kept as a complex. Complex means it's a return type of this. Like integer is return type integer, but return type is complex means of type complex, of class complex. So object is getting returned here of type complex. That's the idea. And it expects and there is a parameter, right? Parameter is of type complex. It can be something like int. Instead of int, no, I want, because this operator overloading, I'm using two objects. So in these two objects, their data type is complex. Instead of int, it is complex, capital C. And constant, I don't want to change that value, so it's just a const keyword. I receive this because the only thing is we are getting that reference. So the reference value means whenever this function is called, the value of that object, directly the address we are getting it. So the reference we are getting it. If anything is got changed, we lose everywhere. That's why I used const here, so that should not get changed at all. So the reference values, we are not supposed to update it, just to read purpose, not to write purpose. So object, and I have instantiated one more object called result, and there is an addition, real plus object dot real. Okay, I will come to this. Imaginary plus object dot imaginary, and I'm storing into the new instantiated object called result dot real and result dot imaginary. I'm returning this result. So why only one object, even though there are two objects, is the question. We'll try to explore more on that. Okay, so this is the template, and let's come to the main function. Main, I have instantiated two objects, C1 and C2, 10 and 5. This is whenever this is being called, this constructor is automatically called, and right initially, if nothing is being passed, so it will set to 0. But however, we are passing 10 and 5. The real and imaginary for the first object is 10 and 5, and C2 it is 2 and 4. So two objects, two different in memory locations, having real value and imaginary value separately. So when we call this complex C3, means how it works is this part is executed first, C1 plus C2, and it evaluates whatever the value it comes, and it is assigned to this object. What object type? It is complex object type. I know it is feeling a bit tricky, but we'll see with detailed example. So in this case, C1 plus C2, the addition is happening, and plus is the thing. Plus has two operands, and both are not primitive data types, and it has two objects. Both the operands are objects data type, and it is type complex. So in this case, for C1, okay, for C1 instance, this function is called, not the C2 instance. C1 has also this method, C2 has also is this method. It's two different objects. So C1 has also real and imaginary variables. C2 has real and imaginary variables. So that values are appropriately set using this instruction. Now C1 method, in C1 method, that is this part, in C1 method, C2 is been passed. The reference of C2 is been passed here. So the object where we wrote here, that ampersand object, the reference of C2. C2 is coming into the picture. That C2 dot real, C2 dot imaginary. But what is real? That is internally accessible. That is C1 dot real and C1 dot imaginary. So no need to write again that respective object reference, because we are that instructions is within that reference of the object. That's how the values are getting added and stored into the a new object called res, and that is been written. That res object is being assigned to C3 and C3 dot print. Okay, so I will try to run this and we'll see in detail which method is called when, what, etc. Right. So this is the overall gist of plus binary operator overloading. I guess I'm in the set2 path, but I want to navigate to set1 lscd set capital set1, right? Yeah, G++ set oriented binary. Okay, /a dot out. So you see this example, right? 10, 5, 15 and 21. So we are not adding all like that. Only 10 and 2 is been added and becomes 12, and 5 and 9, it is 9, that is I9. So very primitive knowledge of operator overloading. The purpose is how exactly it works when two objects comes into the picture. So to realize this, to understand more on this, to get more clarity on this, I have one more example. So let me navigate to set2. Right, right. Let me close the unary part. Set1, set2. Okay. So again, the same thing. I have a student class in this. Name department, I stick to the student class having a name department, marks and combined marks, and a constructor with passing department as an argument, and the parameter is type string. Here it will receive and it will update to department. There is a print function and operator for plus, and if you see it's student A. I have not made it as a const or anything like that. So I'm just taking a reference, only it been passed. It maintains a new copy of here. When we pass it, it is not taking the exact address. That's the whole point here. We can write like this also. So print as, it will print all the the 4 values: name, department, marks, and combined mark for that particular object. Whichever object calls this print, that object values are displayed. Now coming to the student, it's not returning anything. That's why it is void. Yeah, so marks, it's combined marks equal to marks plus a dot marks. A is the second operand object. That particular marks will be read, and the first operand marks, that is taken from the respective attribute, this itself, but this means the reference, the exact reference which this method is getting executed. It is the method, it is getting executed from the first operand object. Okay, and value is being assigned, and it is kept where, again, the first object, first object or first operand is an object only. In that, the com marks value is getting updated, and I'm trying to print here. So with the same example, Gokul being electronics, having marks 88 and combined marks, I'm setting it to 0 initially. I can access using a dot here because it is a public access specifier. I'm using a dot and setting all those values, and I'm trying to print. So before that, I will try to comment this and we'll see what exactly values are getting printed. To G plus plus is binary, right? So we got these values. Combined marks is set to 0. So two different objects, both having different memory locations and different data altogether. And I say both objects are different. Both objects have this function definition also. So now, because I can now, uh, you can ask her when only one operand is only the first operand function is getting executed, and the other function other operands is function is never getting executed. Why to write? But it is a one single template of a student class. That's the beauty. It's single template. I can write p plus s or s plus p. In right now I'm doing p plus s. Let's see uh, what kind of um, output we get. So when I do p plus s, so the s values, right? S values are passed as uh, uh, the to an object called a. So s and a will have the same value. So those s values are um, marks value are taken along with p values and updated in p, the combo marks variable from p variable. So when we see p dot print, this combined marks for p means the Manjunath, the combined value for Manjunath will be updated to some new value, but however the Gokul object combined value will be still 0. Compile it again because I have uncommented that. So we can see that these two parts are the same. Initially we saw that. Now this combined marks is 180, where it is printed when this line is executed, this function is executed. So at p level, s is being passed as an argument, and here the parameter is a, and it combined and it added and displayed that marks. But with from which object it is getting displayed, to validate that, if we go and check the combined marks of Gokul, that is an object. Yes, it is still 0, but however, the P object, that is Manjunath object, the combined value is set to 180, right? So this method from the first operand uh, is getting executed, and the second operand, the reference or the values are just looked up. Is there any questions? Any questions on this? Because I will try to modify, the code as per the new requirement. So I want students to comment on that if any explicit queries. So I will resolve those and then we'll go further to modify and to understand more clarity on, especially in this case, object-oriented plus operator overloading concept. So if no messages, then I consider it as everything is clear and no doubt, so that I can start amending the program. Okay. So as I said, if I write p plus s, right? So instead of that s plus p, s is the first object, that in that instance, that respective operator overloading function is getting executed by passing the p as the operand. So in that case, if we see, again, I will do a quick run. Okay. Again, I'm compiling because the code got changed. In this case now, Mm, Gokul got the combined marks as 180, but however, Manjunath's combined marks was zero. But that is not the how it has to be implemented. No? So Gokul and Manjunath being on the same institute, but the combined marks should be at a different level or probably at a higher level rather than how many students are there. Say only two students in two departments. I want a report of like students how much they scored. Okay, so in that concept, if I want to get that report, uh, combined marks is either it will be having in Manjunath instance or the Gokul instance, those two objects. I don't want that combined marks to be in a particular student concept. I want to be the combined marks in a different concept. So say report concept. So what I will do is I will add one more class here. Class called report to generate the combined marks. Okay. Now I will keep a public saying int com marks, right? I want this to be here, not in the student level. Doesn't make any sense. Student should have his own information rather than the combined information. So by doing this, probably this logic which I'm adding extra, now students can realize how easy it is to mimic the real world concepts through object-oriented programming style. So what I did is I removed the combined mark from there and I have added to here, right? Okay, so now anything to add extra? Yeah, here what I will do is combine marks. So I will take the all the added values should be stored in this. So I will take both the operands marks and I will add and I will keep that in report. So how to add and stories. So instead of void in this function, I will make it as report. Uh, why? Because it takes two operand and I have to instantiate a report, say R, okay, R object, and I can access R dot com marks because it is in public now to marks equal to A dot marks. And what I have to do is let's not print this, the combined marks is we know how much after that. So, and I will return that, return R. So that's why the return type has become report and that object is return. Okay, so this looks okay. And in printf, what I will do is mm, print function, the combined marks, this will throw an error, right? Because mm, no, there is no more a variable called com marks. So I will comment this. Okay. What I will do is I will write a say a, display function. Say void display marks, combined marks or display. Uh, oops. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just see out combined marks. The combined marks from all the students of NIT PY is just a message. and then yeah, comb marks. Hope students are oops, are following. Uh, if anything is there, as I'm not seeing the chat window, you can interrupt me through audio by unmuting your microphone so that I can spend some more time on that. The only thing is concept should be clear, like what we are trying to do. As the combined marks should not be in student profile, I'm just pushing that concept to out of that, saying a report object. And report and student doesn't have any relation because right now in the current situation there is no relation, so I have not taken any base class, derived class, or inheritance such relations. So I did display here. So what I will do is, okay, this is combined marks. I will remove this because it will throw error. There is no variable under student. So remove this. S dot print, it will print. And here, yeah. So before going to report, I will take an instance of object report. Then I will say r equal to, right? So s dot print, s dot print, it will be same r dot display, right? Anything to add? Did I miss anything? Okay, huh. So again, I don't want to print twice, or let's print it twice, even though the data will be same. Uh, let me give couple of more end lines for readable. Also, huh. So the first student from EC having 88 marks, second student Manjuna from CSE department 92 marks. As I said, again I have printed Gokul's and Manjunath information, just a repetition, doesn't require. And the combined marks from all the students of NIT Pondicherry is 180. So this information I have in different class together. I mean, different object of class report together. So uh, a quick question. Any doubts? Any doubts, students? Okay, rather than any doubt, is it clear? I want the positive reply. Is it clear? Yeah, great. I mean, to other students, yes, yes, this is what I expect. Students to, yeah, 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 yes, sir. So we just saw the, the the program of extending the concept of student. I initially what I did is I have two objects of students and they got each marks through constructor. The values are assigned, and we realized how the operator overloading function works with taking the first operand. In that first operand only, the the method which has been defined was executed by taking the second operand as an argument and calculating and storing it. And the concept didn't suits to the real world object because no students will be having combined marks information, right? So what we did is we removed that combined marks class, and we have created one more class called report, and where we kept all the information. So by this, all the students, if there are more than two students, can be added also using plus operator. Yes, how it can be added? If multiple operands with plus, that is a tricky thing. I want that to all the students to try it out and come up with the solution. So right now I have given an example for only two operands with one operator. If multiple students are there, how best can we implement or realize that? So definitely these codes I will upload in Classroom. Try to do for at least three. So if three is done, then definitely four, five is just a uh, same concept. So nested concept. So go for the three students and try to add and make it a report similar. Okay, just an amendment, easy amendment. Okay, it's an assignment, so definitely it will be having a deadline. Deadline is by today's Friday, uh, probably tomorrow 10 o'clock. Yes, 10 a.m. I will create a assignment in class, Google Classes. But yeah, even the codes are will be uploaded. These codes. Okay. Yeah, that's it from operator overloading perspective. We saw only two example. It can be any. The idea is the way we want to define our logic based on the situation. We can do that. That facility is given by object-oriented programming style. So we saw function meanings and operators getting multiple meanings, right? And these both are comes under compile time polymorphism. So coming back to the slides, we saw function overloading and okay, this is overriding. Sorry, yeah, and operator overloading with example, detail example with all possible outputs, and also with an example to amend the given concept to extend more meaningful concept rather than having combined marks in a student level. We pushed it to report level. So now we saw limitations at function overloading, like cannot be done with having a same name and signature style same. What is signature is having number of parameters same, data types are same. It's called a signature, the function signature. The function being the function name and its signature being same, and just the return type is different. It doesn't work. It throws error. We saw this. So this is one it's not a limitation. This is not happening. This such kind of things doesn't come under function overloading. Similarly, operator overloading also have some exceptions. We'll see. Things to remember in operator overloading. Two operators, that is equal and ampersand, are already overloaded by default in C++. So equal, right? So for example, just now we saw, you know, this example equal. It has it works for primitive as well as objective. I mean object data type, and also it works for others also. So equal is already overloaded by default, and ampersand also. Ampersand is acts as like when it is a primitive with expression, it acts as an AND operation, whether it's checking true, false, true, false, like that, as well as the address. So it is already overloaded by default. So, and there are four operators that cannot be overloaded in C++, and they are the first one is scope resolution. I know by now all the students are aware of what scope resolution operator is. Special meaning is, and dot operator. We saw that we can access member attributes, member selection through dot operation. And there is one more, dot star, member selection through pointers, the ampersand and star. That is also cannot be overloaded. And the final one is ternary operator, question mark, colon. It is the best operator for if condition. If this is true, then pick the first one, else they pick the second one. So that's a ternary operator. This operator also cannot be overloaded. overloaded. Now, moving to function overloading. What is overloading? Let's skip a couple of slides back. So we started with polymorphism. We completed compile time, covering function overloading as well as function operator overloading. Now, is function overriding are also called virtual functions. Function overriding or virtual functions. This comes under runtime. So, runtime polymorphism, function overriding, on the other hand, occurs when has a definition for one of the member functions of the base class. Uh, okay, we'll see that in the next slide. Yeah, function overriding. As we know, we did see a couple of slides on inheritance, single level, multi-level, multiple hybrid, hierarchy inheritance, where function is where the class is derived from the base class. So base class is a parent class, derived class is a child class. Inheritance is a feature of object-oriented programming that allows us to create derived classes from a base class. The derived classes inherit features of the base class. So, as I said, um, the child class will have all the members of the base class depending on their access specifiers. Suppose the same function is defined. So in both the derived class and the base class. For example, base class has a function called XYZ, and that is that base class now uh, derives a child class called derived class. Let's stick to base class and derived class. Base class has a method called XYZ, and derived class, as the name specifies, it is derived from base class. By default, it will have the same method from the base class. Now, if we call the object of the derived class, the function of the derived class is executed. So, uh, consider I have a two object A and B. A is being a base class and B being the no P and Q. P and Q is the best example. P is the base class and Q is the derived class. Uh, P has a function XYZ, so definitely Q also will be having XYZ. If I call P XYZ function through P object, it executes that. If I call XYZ function using Q object, it will still point to the base because that is the uh, function is been inherited. It is inherited from the parent. However, we can override that logic. We want that logic to be implemented from base to child. In child, I want to redefine something new to be happen, something new to calculate. So that extra definition, function body, or adding extra logic is called overriding. Function is getting overriding. If the separate logic is not implemented at the class, that is derived class Q, then it will refers to the base class P. Logic is written at the child class. Definitely, the child class will be method will be executed whenever Q dot XYZ is called. So this is called overriding. We'll see with an example. Again, I've taken this from C++. So through program, probably things will be clear. The left hand side, I've taken a template, class base and class derived. The two red rectangles tells about a base class, and there is a derived class. How to derive a class? Class derived. Class is a keyword. Derived can be any name, like a shape. Shape being a base class and derived, like triangle. Triangle comes under shape. So instead of derived, I can write triangle colon public base instead of base shape. So this is the syntax, and I have print. So in the both the cases, if I don't mention this part, right? If I don't mention at all that the function is called from this derived object, it will just print base function, because this function is also available in the child. That is inheritance. By default, parents' properties are child also got. That's how the real world concept is. By default, um, parent attributes and methods are also available at child's level, and it will perform exactly the same as parent does. But however, if child wants to child learn something else and mimic from the ecosystem and doesn't behaving like a parent, in that case we have an option to override that parent's method explicitly. In this case, the void print function is a overriding function the parent. And here I'm just printing derived function and base function. So in main, I've taken an object from derived, and print, it will print derived function. If this part is not at all being defined explicitly, then this, this is how it is. Like, as we defined explicitly here, this base method is overridden by the child one. As are same, the return type should be same, function name should be the same, function signature, that they are list of parameters, and the return type also should be the same, right? And so this is how it is. It's not pointing to the base, it is pointing to the child, because we have explicit definition for the same function. Don't do this, do this instead. That's how it is. uh, do we have a 2 minutes time to look back with the program? Great. So that students will get a complete information of what is actually overriding is. So, overriding. Yeah. What I've done is I've taken a base derived class, and I have print here. Same method, same method. Okay, and we taken an object from base b derived d b dot print this print, right? So let's see how this outputs. G plus plus function dot slash a dot out. So it prints base class. It prints base class as well as derived class in this case. So what if, as I said, I don't want to specify anything. I want to comment this completely. Oops. I don't want to let it be like that. So hopefully it will run. See here, even though I'm calling from a derived object D, the print function still pointing to the parent, because it has its own separate copy. Do a inheritance, or probably the child, right? Inheriting the whole, all the members will be copied to the child also. That's how it is still pointing to the base. So in case, no, for example, now if I change this to a shape, and instead of, I'm coming to the more precise example to shape, not triangle, rectangle I will make. Okay. So I want to print, say, print area. Area, uh, it doesn't know like what shape it is. So nothing to calculate. Okay, nothing to calculate. So now, if I want uh, to print an area, considering there is something called int len uh, and breadth. Okay, something like that. Simple logic. And I will do a rectangle uh, by default constructor 10 default constructor I'm using. So len equal to 10, right? Whenever breadth will be 20, something like that. Even it can be applicable to square because both length breadth will be same constructor I have just defined. So when area is there, uh, rectangle area is okay. What I will do is just calculate here itself length into breadth. It's breadth spelling. Let me typo to be same. And whenever I call a derived print area and area, right. Hopefully this should work. Let's see if any problems. Yes, there are problems. Derived D, so it is not derived, it is shape now, and it is rectangle, right? Let me be in the same. And it says return type, no return type, rectangle question mark already. Void, okay. Already int rectangle. Am I returning something? No, right? Int main void print area rectangle area is nothing to calculate. Rectangle shape. Okay. Int area equal to length into breadth, just to be on the safer side. Okay, and I'm giving area here. Hopefully it's something else. Rectangle, rectangle class, rectangle public. Okay, 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 okay. No. Yeah. So dot slash a dot out. It says, oops, length into breadth area of rectangle. Yeah, some garbage value it has picked up, but yeah. So ultimately, as the time is running, what we try to achieve is in the shape we can mm, define a function, and if it is applicable there you do that logic. If not, child, I mean definitely those concepts will be derived to child as well. If it is applicable to child as well, just leave it, no need to add any logic. If there demands a situation like in our case, shape being a generic class and all the rectangle, square, circle, triangle being a specific class of derived from shape, So in that case, the calculating area doesn't make any sense at the shape level. We need to calculate at this level. So I'm just added a logic, the same print area. It becomes easy to find print area to either rectangle, square, circle. It becomes easy to find it and also easy to override it. So in that case, we saw that how function overriding helps us to implement the real world scenarios. So by this, I will look into this. There's some dummy values has been picked up, but yeah, ultimately this method is invoked appropriately, and this method is these instructions are invoked appropriately based on print area of B and D. Right? We'll see the remaining part in the next class. Any questions? Any questions? Any queries? Any doubts? We'll give a minute and then so that I can stop the today's class. So meanwhile, let me look at the program. I mean, have some 30-40 seconds. If any questions, please raise. Okay. No queries? Okay then. Yeah. Thank you, students. We'll meet in the next week. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.